So you see the stock price moving, right? It goes up, it goes down. But what's really behind that number? Behind that ticker symbol, there's a whole world of rights, risks, and even some real power. So today, let's unpack what it really means to own a piece of a company.
All right, so you hit buy on that stock. Boom, you're an owner. But what did you actually get? Is it just, a line on a screen, a bet on the future, or is there something more to it? That's the big question we're going to dig into. Okay, so the first thing you got to know is that not all stock is the same. Not by a long shot. There are basically two main roads you can go down as an owner, and which one you take completely changes your relationship with the company. We're talking about the classic showdown, common versus preferred stock.
Let's kick things off with common stock. The key phrase to remember here is residual interest. This basically means you're the real owner. You get to vote for the board of directors, and you have the potential for absolutely massive returns. But, and this is a big but, you're last in line. If the company goes belly up, you get whatever's left, the scraps, really, after everyone else has been paid. It's the classic high-risk, high-reward deal.
Now, on the flip side, we've got preferred stock. You can almost think of this as a mashup of a stock and a bond. The name says it all. They get preferred treatment. They get their dividends paid out before any of the common stockholders see a dime, and if the company liquidates, they get their investment back before the common folks too. So what's the catch? Well, you usually give up your right to vote. It's a much safer, more predictable play, but you don't get a say in how the company is run, and your potential for huge gains is usually capped.
Okay, so let's break this down. It really comes down to what you value most. If you want a say in the company's future, if you want to be able to vote, then common stock is where it's at. But if you're more interested in getting paid first and want a bit more safety, then preferred stock is probably your best bet. It's a real choice, control versus safety, and huge growth potential versus steady income.
Okay, here's an analogy that makes this super clear. Think of the company as a house. The common stockholders, you guys are the homeowners. You make the rules, you get all the profit if the value skyrockets, but you also carry all the risk if things go wrong. And the preferred stockholders, they're kind of like specialized lenders who helped you buy the house. In return, they get first dibs on payments, and if the house is ever sold, they get their money back before you do.
All right, next up, let's talk about a term that trips a lot of people up: par value. It sounds really important, right? But honestly, in today's world, it's pretty much a ghost, an artifact from a different time.
So what even is it, technically speaking? Par value is just this tiny, often arbitrary dollar amount that gets stamped on a share of stock when a company is first created. It's really an old-school legal thing, back from a time when they wanted to make sure companies had at least some cash on hand to protect the people they owed money to.
And this really gets to the heart of it. See, way back when, par value might have actually meant something about the stock's real value, but today, it has zero relationship to what the stock is actually trading for on the market. Most companies today just set it at something ridiculously low, like a tiny fraction of a penny, just to check a legal box.
So here's the bottom line, the most important thing to remember. When you're trying to figure out what a stock is worth, you can just completely ignore par value. It has nothing to do with the market price, period. It's a historical footnote, not something you should ever use to make an investment decision.
Okay, so this visual gives us a great map of a share's life. First, a company gets permission, it's authorized, to create a huge pile of shares. Then, when it sells some of those shares to the public, they become issued. Now, the shares that are actually out there being traded by people like you and me, that's what we call outstanding stock. But here's a cool twist. Sometimes a company buys its own stock back. When that happens, those shares become treasury stock. They're still technically issued, but they're sitting in the company's vault, so they don't get a vote and they don't get dividends.
All right, this leads us to a really big strategic question that every company faces. After all the bills are paid and there's profit left over, what do you do with the cash? This is that classic debate. Do you give cash to your owners now, or do you bet on yourself and reinvest for even bigger growth later?
And I'm sure you've thought about this, right? Especially with all those big tech companies that don't pay anything out. If a company doesn't pay a dividend, why would you ever invest in it? How do you make money? Well, the answer all comes down to what the company decides to do with its profits.
First off, let's be crystal clear on what a dividend is. It's literally the company taking some of its profit and sending it directly to you, the shareholder, usually as cash. And here's a key accounting point. A dividend is not a business expense. It's a distribution of profit after everything else has been taken care of.
So when a company has extra cash, the management team basically has three main options. Option 1, they can pay out a cash dividend. That's money straight into your pocket. Option 2, They can hold on to that cash and reinvest it right back into the company. Build new factories, hire more engineers, expand. The hope is that this will grow the business and make your shares worth a lot more down the road. And option 3, they can use that cash to buy back their own shares on the open market, turning them into that treasury stock we mentioned. This reduces the total number of shares out there, which can push the stock price up. It's also a huge signal of confidence from the management team.
Okay, let's pull all of this together. Because understanding what you own is so much more than just watching the stock price wiggle up and down. It's about knowing your rights as an owner, understanding the risks you're taking, and knowing exactly how you're supposed to get a return on your money.
So, let's recap the big points. Common stock, you're the real owner, you get a vote, but you're last in line to get paid. Preferred stock, you're a priority investor, you get paid first, but you give up your vote. That par value thing, yeah, you can pretty much forget you ever saw it. And finally, your profit comes in one of 2 ways. Cash in your hand through dividends or growth in the stock's value because the company reinvested in itself.
And that really brings us to the final and maybe most important question. What kind of shareholder do you want to be? Do you want to be in the driver's seat, an active owner with a voice? Or would you rather be a more passive investor who prioritizes safety and a steady paycheck? There is absolutely no single right answer, but knowing the difference, well, that's the key to making the right choice for you.